Here's an interesting question. What parts do you look for in a chart when you're looking for good relationship matches? And how does astrology help people find a romantic partner? So there's two questions there really. So what parts do you look for in a chart when you're looking for good relationship matches? Well, obviously the obvious thing is Venus, you know, but in fact there's more than that, because you've got to look at the chart as a whole. Then you've got to, excuse me, you've got to see where where the dominant vibes are in like the relationship house, but also the domestic setup, because are we talking here about long-term or short-term? So in general, long-term relationships are in the house opposite the ascendant, which is the 7th house. Okay, that's in general, and I would say the 8th as well, the 7th and the 8th houses, because that's where a relationship gets much deeper, in the 8th house. So I would say the 7th, but also, you know, that's a very sexual house as well, so that can be short-term relationships as well. But if we're talking about long-term relationship, the 7th and the 8th houses, which are natally Libra and Scorpio houses, I mean, they belong to Libra and Scorpio, although they might have a completely different sign, like Aquarius, Pisces in them for you, if you've got Leo rising. And or short-term relationships, we look more towards the 5th house, okay? But doesn't mean to say that a wonderful romantic affair that kicked off because of 5th house energies, I should have said 5th house energies, can't then slowly blossom or rather take root and then blossom into a long-term 7th house deal. In general, how does astrology help people find a romantic partner? Well, you look to see, first of all, what energy was ruling a long-term relationship house, the 7th. So take Aquarius again, which is rather a difficult one really, but take Aquarius, say somebody had Aquarius in their 7th house. So you'd look to see where Uranus was in the chart, and you would look to see what, you know, the state of the Uranus was, what the aspect pattern it was in, and you look to see where the Venus was. You'd look to see and what aspect pattern the Venus was in, the Moon as well, particularly if it's Venus for a man. So say his Venus was in the 9th house, in a fire sign, say Aries. So you would immediately start to see a picture of being drawn to a female who was maybe foreign, which is to do with the 9th house, or has got an area of expertise which is kind of foreign to him, and or was quite fiery. It doesn't have to be Aries, it can be Leo, it can be what's the other fire sign? Completely forgot. Sagittarius. It can be Aries, it can be Leo, it can be Sagittarius, or it can just be you know, that they've got a very, very strong ascendant as well, because that's a fire house, or they've just got strong fire houses. So there's loads of things to take into consideration. But in general, you know, that would be the thing. So I would start getting a picture in my mind, and I'd say, okay, Aquarius on the long-term relationship area, that's Uranian energy, and Venus, and this is for a guy, is like that, you know, foreign, quite fiery, that kind of thing, or maybe meeting them in a kind of academic environment, that kind of sort of scenarios with the 9th. Then you'd look at Uranus and see where Uranus was, and you then get maybe somebody quite unusual, somebody quite independent, because that's Uranian, quirky, even eccentric. Somebody who's interested in astrology, because Uranus rules astrology or astronomy or anything technical or the sciences, you see. So then you begin to get a picture in your mind. If it was for a female, then you look to see where Mars was, and say she had Mars in Virgo in her 3rd house, then you would start to get a picture of a man who was maybe connected to travel, transport, who was a very, very good communicator, who was quite, you know, that she could have an intellectual rapport with, somebody who was maybe quite hard worker, or maybe a little bit of a perfectionist as well, being in Virgo. So, and then you relate that to the 7th house area. And again, we can put something different in the 7th house area. We can put, what should we put in the 7th house area? Taurus. So if Taurus was in the long-term relationship 7th house area, we'd say, but can be quite possessive and stubborn, you see. Or if it was in the 5th house area, just kind of go for it, because it's going to be really, really romantic with Taurus there. So yeah, but maybe not necessarily long-term, and watch out, you know, because you are not his property, etc., etc. So yes, I hope that's answered your question.